Guys, it's Sarah, and today we are going to do BookList Thursday. BookList Thursday is a video series that I do with my friend Lindsay over at Lindsay's Little Library, and every Thursday we bring you some sort of list featuring books or something that we want to talk about for the week, and this week we are doing our 5-star predictions follow-up. This is a video that we posted back in April, I believe, and we predicted certain categories, books from certain genres that we felt we would give 5 stars. And we had fun picking, the different genres and kind of changing it up a little bit than just whatever books we wanted to pick. And the results were pretty good. So I'm going to recap the genres and then show you the books that I picked for those and what my ratings ended up being. We had 5 different genres that we picked books from. The first one being nonfiction, and for that I read The Stranger Beside Me by Anne Rule. This was a 5-star book. I took a while to read this because it is a very long book. It's over 500 pages, and it is a nonfiction. So nonfiction and I, we go through it slowly together, basically. It takes me a little bit longer to read nonfiction than a regular fiction book because, it's all facts, it's all studies, it's all, things that you really have to digest. So it took me a little bit longer to read this, but I picked it up over Memorial Day weekend and read about 100 pages fairly quickly, and I really was enjoying it. And then I put it down for other things, and it took me a while to pick it back up. But once I picked it back up and said, okay, I'm going to finish this book, I could not put it down. Okay, so this is the story of Anne Rule and her personal friendship with the notorious serial killer Ted Bundy. Now, she worked with him in Seattle. They actually worked at a suicide hotline type of place where he would talk people down from suicide, which is interesting. Interesting career path for him. He was also very much into politics in the Seattle area at the time. This, takes place in the late 60s, early 70s, when he was very prolific before he was captured. But it's, the story of how they met and how their friendship kind of blossomed. It was never anything more than friends. And she follows his case as well because all the suspicions start happening, women start disappearing, a lot of things that aren't able to be explained. His behavior started getting very strange, and she supported him through a lot of it. She did not believe a lot of what was happening or what was being said that he was doing. She could not let herself believe that he was doing these things based on the person that she knew. But oh, yes, he did. So, and you see her start to doubt. You see her start to question things. You see her say, do I really know this man? Am I right to support him? Like, what's happening? They corresponded while he was in prison, and she shared some of those letters, and she went to all of his trials, and not all of them. I think when he was appealing stuff, she didn't go, but the big one that got him in jail for life, she was there and witnessed everything and saw him become Ted Bundy, a side of him she's never seen before. So it was very creepy because I knew basically what Ted Bundy did. I knew that he targeted women. I knew that he raped them. I knew that he killed them. I knew that he did these things. I knew that he attacked a sorority house at FSU. I knew that, but I didn't really know exactly what he did. And it was bad, you guys. I sat there and just my heart was clenching, and I had my hand over my heart, and I was like, oh my gosh, these women that he attacked and what he did to them. I didn't really know, and now I do, and it's so disturbing what he did. A lot of this was also creepy for me personally because he did some of the worst stuff here in Florida. He did the FSU thing. He attacked multiple people at FSU, but he did kill 2 people there at the sorority house, and then he went and attacked a 3rd person right afterwards. She did survive, but that's 2 hours from my house. I've been on that campus before, and when he left Tallahassee, he was driving down I-10, which goes right by my town, and he stayed in a hotel in Crestview, which I'm sure probably isn't still standing today because this is in the 70s, but he stayed there, which is 20 minutes from my house. And he was captured in Pensacola near Cervantes Street, which I've been on a lot because I went to college in Pensacola, and it's just like, oh, it's so creepy. It has nothing to do with me. All of this happened before I was even born. I was born in 78 and he was already in jail, but still, like, it's just, I was like, oh my gosh, I know where that is. Like, So just a little creepy knowing that I kind of walked the same streets as him at one point. I don't like that, but yeah. So, but it was fascinating. It was very creepy. He had a lawyer that worked for him, and it's a woman, and I want to punch her in the face for some of the things that she said. I just went, how can you look at what this man did, and how can you stand there and say that as a woman? Like, you're seriously saying this about other women? Are you serious right now? No. Yeah. So that's all I'm going to say. I don't want to like give a whole bunch away. And if you guys really want to read this book and learn more about it, just know that when you get to you'll know when you'll get there, what she said. It was basically like his closing defense. I can't. Anyway. But yeah, so I gave it 5 stars. I loved it. I'm very fascinated by Ted Bundy and his whole case, and everything. I felt like this gave really, really great information. I'm really excited to watch the Netflix show that is on with Zac Efron now. I'm really excited to watch that movie. It's a movie. And yeah, so loved it. Next category is contemporary, and I picked The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren, and definitely gave this 5 stars. Oh my goodness, this book. I devoured this book. This follows our 2 main characters, who are the brother and the sister of a bride and a groom who are getting married. So, okay, the girl is the bride's sister, maid of honor. The guy is groom's brother, best man. So they're at this wedding. Everybody's eating this seafood buffet. Everybody except these 2. For very specific reasons, they don't eat the buffet food. And they are, at the reception having a great time. All of a sudden, everyone starts getting sick, like violently ill, except for them. And, upon further investigation and research and stuff, they realize, oh, everyone has food poisoning. Awesome. Except for these 2. They're the only ones who can't, or who don't. So the bride tells her sister, you have to take our honeymoon. I won it in a giveaway. It's going to go to waste. You can't put it off. You have to use it then or it goes away. Like, you have to do this for me. I worked really hard to get this honeymoon. You and Ethan have to go and take our honeymoon for us, basically. So our main character, Olive, is like, oh, great. I hate Ethan. And Ethan hates me. And now we have to go to Hawaii together? Seriously? And because they are taking this trip not as a married couple, they have to pretend that they are. So they're not like, get accused of fraud and all that stuff. So they have to go to Hawaii together and pretend like they're married. It's so good, you guys. It's funny. Nothing seemed over the top or just like ridiculous just to, keep the plot going. It all made a lot of sense. I thought it was very smart. There's not a ton of steamy stuff. There's a couple scenes, but it's more of a fade to black type thing. So it's not like real smutty or anything. Oh gosh, I just loved it so much. I loved these characters. I thought they were so great, and their dynamic together is fantastic. And yeah, so I loved it. 5 stars complete. The next one was fantasy, and I picked Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. This one was a 4 star. Not quite a 5 for me. This is the sequel to Strange the Dreamer, and as of right now, it's a duology. I don't know if there's going to be any plans for the future. I think she definitely kind of left it open that that could be a possibility, but as of right now, there's no information on that or anything. So I think as of right now, it's a duology. And I loved Strange the Dreamer, the first book. Loved it, loved it, loved it. This one was good, very good. I mean, I gave it 4 stars, but it wasn't quite as good for me as Strange the Dreamer. And I think a lot of the reason for that is, you know, Strange the Dreamer, it has to do a lot with dreams. There are dream sequences in that book that are very important to the story and for the characters, and that wasn't as prevalent in this one. So I found myself missing that part of it. My parents' dog is going nuts on my foot right now. What are you doing? Stop it. Sorry. He's just rubbing up against my feet constantly. So I was missing the dream sequence part of it. However, it did go off, you know, into the direction that it really should have as far as the characters needed to go, but I still found myself missing that part because I thought that part was the most beautiful part of the first book. But yeah, so I missed it. However, I really did like the way that this took the story, and I liked where it went. I liked how the characters developed and all that. So I did really, really, really enjoy it. So I did give it 4 stars, not quite 5. It just wasn't quite as good as Strange the Dreamer was for me, but I thought it was a really solid follow-up, and 4 stars. For historical fiction, I picked Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is a book that follows a band from the 70s, and they are kind of telling their story about what happened when they teamed up with a singer named Daisy Jones. They collaborated together and created a song, and then from there created a full album together. But they ended up breaking up while they were on tour and going their separate ways. And it's like the band members and the crew members and anyone who was really involved around them around that time, kind of telling their stories, family members, things like that. So it's definitely told in an interview format where they are being interviewed, and I kind of compare it to that like VH1 behind the scenes, or I can't remember what it's called, but, you know, just like bands talking about that time in their lives. That's basically what this is, the way that it's written. I listened to the audiobook. I highly recommend it. I don't know if I would have enjoyed it as much if I didn't have that audio, because the narrators were so great, and just, you know, at least 3 of them were big actors, you know, like Benjamin Bratt and Jennifer Neal and Judy Greer are some of the characters in here. Those were my favorite ones actually to listen to, but they're professional actors, so they just brilliant. So I loved it, and I found myself like thinking this was real, thinking this is a real band and I want to listen to their music. And no, that's not real, Sarah. This is all fiction. And I loved it. I definitely gave this one 5 stars. I listened to it really, really quickly. I would listen to it again, like in a heartbeat. I really would, just to get that story again. I thought it was very interesting the way that it went, and the reasons that they were breaking up and everything. And there is a lot of drug use in here and a lot of sex. So 70s band, kind of unfortunately goes hand in hand with that time frame. So just be aware of that if you have not picked this up yet, but that is in here, and I loved it. So 5 stars. And the last one that I picked was a thriller, and I ended up picking Badger by C.M. McKenna. Okay. Okay. This isn't really a thriller. I thought it was, but it really wasn't. So I went into this thinking it was a thriller, and it kind of wasn't. It was more of a contemporary, probably, type thing, but it's okay. Okay. I got to give you a little bit here. So I got to give you a little bit, because if you decide to pick up this book, I need to not have any responsibility for what you read. I didn't write it. I read it and I loved it, and I gave it 5 stars, and I couldn't put it down. I read it so quickly, but this is a very, very messed up book. It's very messed up. There is a lot of graphic sexual content in here. Kara McKenna is an erotic author. Like, that's what she writes. Her writing is very, very good. Very good. Which is why I continue to pick up her books. This is my 3rd one, I think, of hers that I read. No, fourth book of hers that I read. Okay, but guys, it's disturbing. Like, there's no other way I can say it. I'm going to give you some trigger warnings here. There is issues with child abuse in this. There is issues with molestation in here with this. I'm trying to think of what else. Drug use for sure. It's so hard for me to recommend this because I don't feel like I should. You have to be able to handle some content if you're going to pick this book up. It's not for the faint of heart. I'm going to say that. So I was reading it and I can handle some stuff. I can, but even I was just like, oh my gosh. And like, that's so messed up. And making faces like, that type of thing. So it's really hard for me to recommend it. It really is. Let me give you a little bit of a premise here, but this follows a girl, and she's a recovering addict. She is, living on her own and, doing all that, but she's really struggling to find a job. She's living in this apartment that's kind of run down, but it's all that she can afford, and she doesn't want to be dependent on anybody anymore. So she's trying to find a job, which is really hard with her criminal record. And this takes place in Boston. So she is leaving somewhere, and she's walking down the street, and she ends up getting hit by a car. More nudged, but she like falls and she breaks her wrist and, all that stuff. She gets injured. The car tries to take off, and then this guy comes speeding down the street on a bicycle, and he smashes the car's like his window and his windshield and everything for hitting her and all that. This guy is very infamous in the city, and he's known as the Badger. That's kind of his like nickname. He's kind of seen as a vigilante. He will use a paintball gun to attack people who are doing some sort of injustice, or, like littering, or not picking up after your dog on the street, or hitting somebody with a car and trying to get away, like, that kind of stuff. He's very famous for being there and for like kind of attacking people physically for doing bad things. So he's seen as kind of almost a hero for like standing up for people and standing up for injustice and things like that. So our main character takes it upon herself to find him, because he's always on his bike. He doesn't really talk to anybody. Nobody even really fully knows what he looks like. He wears this hoodie, kind of like this, and like no one can really pinpoint exactly who he is. The cops don't know who he is. They're trying to actually get him because he's attacking people, and they don't think that's okay. So he's kind of eluding everybody. She takes it upon herself to find him and to thank him and to get to know him. And that happens. So she gets to know this guy and everything that comes with it. Okay. Yeah. I loved it. I did. I don't know what that says about me, but I loved it. And I definitely gave it 5 stars. But if you decide to pick this up, you have got to be okay with some disturbing things. You have to be okay with very explicit sexual scenes, things that are going to make you cringe a little bit, but it all makes sense as well. So that's all I'm going to say. Don't pick this up if it makes you even a little bit nervous. Okay. I hold no responsibility. Okay, guys, those were my 5-star prediction follow-ups. 4 of them were 5 stars and 1 was a 4-star. So that's really good, right? I think I picked some good ones. Head on over to Lindsay's channel and see what she read and what her predictions were and how they panned out and everything. I'm really excited to see if hers were all 5 stars. We haven't talked about it, so I'm excited to see like what she ended up rating all of her books as well. And that's going to be it for today. So let me know down below if you've read any of these books and what you guys thought of them and all that good stuff. And I will talk to you guys again soon. Hope you have a great day. Bye.